We begin with what's on the line today in the NFL, our Saturday stakes. Big stakes in the AFC North. Today's pair of games. In the early game, the Ravens clinched the AFC North with a win or tie at home against the 3-13 Browns. Okay, one game back of Baltimore is Pittsburgh. Steelers hosting the Bengals tonight. Pittsburgh needs a Ravens loss in the early game, plus a win over the red-hot Bengals to clinch the division. Meanwhile, Cincinnati will be eliminated with a loss to the Steelers. With a win, they'll stay alive for the 7th seed, but need a Broncos loss and a Dolphins loss or a tie tomorrow. Hannah?
So here with all the important stuff you need to know going into the weekend is senior NFL writer Jeremy Fowler. Also, we have football analyst Sam Acho joining us this weekend. Hello, Sam. Good to see you. All right, Jeremy, let's start with you, though, because the Ravens' regular season success has not translated into the playoffs. So as we close the regular season, what are you hearing and what are they saying about Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry?
Yeah, talking to people in the building, Hannah, they say the same thing. Derrick Henry is primed and ready. He's mastered every type of run that they have, including some of those shotgun formation runs, which took a little bit of time since he came from Tennessee, but he is all good there, running through arm tackles. And then they believe he's fresh, only averaging about 19 carries per game. They feel like they didn't overuse him, which is critical for January. And then also Lamar Jackson, there's been growth this year, not just on the field, but off the field as more of a vocal leader, I'm told. I was really getting the sense that he was reluctant in the past at that because he didn't want to be or appear bigger than the team. But now, multiple-time MVP, you're the quarterback, you're the voice. He has certainly embraced that. They've felt that behind the scenes this year.
That's really interesting insight. And listen, you got to run the ball and play defense right in the playoffs. Lamar is only 2-4 in the postseason. Sam, what do you want to see from him today as their heavy favorites going into the playoffs?
Well, I want to see run game and quick game, not just from Lamar Jackson, but from the Baltimore Ravens. Run game, meaning Derrick Henry. You brought him here to be elite. He has over 1,700 rushing yards, and he can take some of the pressure off of Lamar Jackson. Then in the passing game, I want to see quick game. I don't need to see too much drop back action, at least in this matchup. You could save some of that when it's necessary in the playoffs. A couple weeks ago when they played the Pittsburgh Steelers, you saw some early success on run game, early success on quick game. Some of the drop back action, you saw a sack fumble. And so in this last matchup, run game with Derrick Henry, quick game with Lamar Jackson.
Okay, so that is the early matchup, the Ravens and the Browns. But boy, in this second game, so the Bengals have to beat the Steelers today and get some help to get into the playoffs. But what's the latest on a pair of injuries in the Bengals offense?
Yeah, Chase Brown, running back with an ankle issue. Hannah, this is going to be a close call. I'm hearing from talking to people in the building that it's expected to be a game-time decision, but he has felt better later in the week on that ankle issue because he did not practice all week, which is usually a bad sign. In this case, it did at least give him a chance to heal up a little bit, but he's probably going to have to test it pregame, see how he feels. Certainly not a slam dunk, but as was told to me, he is going to at least try to give it a go. He's hoping to play and get cleared, so we'll see. T. Higgins, more optimism here. Sources say he is expected to play today. He's had knee and ankle issues really for the last couple weeks. Limited last week in practice, balled out with multiple touchdowns. Same this week, limited all week, but he should be good to go. And this is maybe the top free agent in 2025, regardless of position. So he's still putting up big numbers.
Yeah, 3 touchdowns against Denver, including the overtime winner when he was questionable going into the game.
No doubt.
That was awesome. That's a story, obviously, we're going to follow in the offseason. But in the meantime, Sam Acho, let's go to the other side of the ball and the issues that the Steelers offense is having. They've lost 3 games in that brutal 11-day stretch. What did they need to do today?
Well, they need to protect up front. You're seeing so much of the stuff they tried downfield not working because of pass protection. Running backs aren't blocking well. Tight ends aren't blocking well. Offensive line isn't blocking well. And so if the pass game isn't working and you try to run the ball, well, teams know what you're going to try to do. They can anticipate your plays and sit on different routes. So for me, if Pittsburgh wants to get better and improve, especially the last several weeks, they need to be better in the pocket. Russell Wilson, yes, needs to be better, but the protection, not just from the offensive line, but when Darnell Washington tries to block as a tight end, when the running backs have to step up and block linebackers, everybody up front needs to help protect Russell Wilson. And then Russell needs to make better decisions.
Yeah, they had 520 yards offense against this very porous Cincinnati defense in their first meeting. But listen, this could be a shootout, right?
No.
So with Burrow and Chase, Steelers got to put some points on the board. Both these guys will be back. Thanks, fellas. Jay?
All right, Hannah, sports betting analyst Joe Fortenbaugh joining us. Okay, big day. big money. What are some of the plays that you like most today?
Let's start with one of the most bankable trends in pro football, which is the Baltimore Ravens in the first half. Lamar Jackson, in his career in the first half against the spread, 58, 33, and 2. That's 64%. There's no quarterback in NFL history that's had that big of a sample and performed that well against the first half spread. Also keep in mind, Ravens first 10 weeks of the season, 25th in scoring defense, 25th in defensive efficiency. Since then, they moved Kyle Hamilton to free safety, number 1 in scoring defense, number 1 in defensive efficiency. Play number 2. Their rival, the Steelers, plus 2.5. Another bankable trend for you. Mike Tomlin as an underdog in divisional matchups, 26, 11, and 1 against the spread, 70%. You go back 1 month when these two met in Cincinnati. The Bengals were 3-point favorites. Today, they're 2.5 in Pittsburgh. I don't think the adjustment's right there. This team has plenty to play for. 3 straight losses, all by 14 or more points. They need to get right before the playoffs start. And then finally, this guy right here, TJ Watt, over half a sack. The Bengals have given up 18 sacks in their last 4 games. Protection's been a major issue. They've given up 11 sacks in their last 2 games. And this guy right here is trying to close out the Defensive Player of the Year award. Patrick Surtain became your favorite at ESPN Bet just this past week. Don't think that that's been lost on TJ Watt.
All right, Joe, thank you much. You're going to see him back in a bit for more on how to bet tomorrow's games. Hannah?
Season as we welcome back NFL writer Jeremy Fowler. So the Dolphins have a must-win game against the Jets coming up. They clinch a playoff berth with a win and a Broncos loss to the Chiefs backups. What's the latest on Tua and this hip injury?
The latest is, Hannah, Tua plans to play should the Dolphins advance. But that's not a slam dunk because he has to be medically cleared on that hip issue. He has not been cleared yet. So I'm told really the setup is he needs to be able to throw and create torque from that hip. He's not quite there yet.